America is not having enough babies to keep our populations up.
Okay.
So we need immigrants that have been vetted to do work. There wouldn't be a problem.
Yes, you see, because we need immigrants to do work. It's cheap labor. Cheap labor. This is the party of slavery. And they've just updated things a little bit. Bill Clinton, of course. You hear the strain in his voice as he was looking around the crowd for women. Yeah, we're not reproducing quickly enough. Anglo-European Americans not reproducing quickly enough. Yeah. So we're going to have to import people illegally, if need be, by the millions so that they can procreate, because Bill Clinton and his friends need cheap labor. That's what he said. Pretty amazing stuff. He also accidentally revealed yesterday, a day before yesterday now, accidentally revealed something else. But I want to stick with that for just a second, because, this is the party of the population bomb going back to the 1960s and 1970s. And the overpopulation of the planet Earth is going to kill us all. The overpopulation of the United States of America is a terrible thing. We have to stop having so many babies. And what happened is that in the United States of America, a lot of people followed that and said, well, we want to have 12 kids. We don't have a farm anymore. We've got machinery and things. We'll have 2 kids instead. That would be zero population growth, right? Zero population growth. 2 people, a mother and a father. The mother has a womb. The father doesn't, unless he's a Democrat, in which case he may have a womb and various other girl parts, but that's another thing. And so the population growth of the United States, at least among Anglo-European Caucasians, that reproduction rate has gone down. And Bill Clinton is saying, well, we need to bring in illegal aliens by the millions because, in fact, let's play that again, because I didn't even listen to that today. I listened to it yesterday. But Bill Clinton on what we need to do in America, bring in illegal aliens to have babies for us, because somebody's got to clean the car and the kitchen.
America is not having enough babies to keep our populations up.
Okay.
So we need immigrants that have been vetted to do work.
Been vetted.
There wouldn't be a problem.
Yeah, there wouldn't be a problem if we just had immigrants, because we need laborers. And the more you have, the less expensive it is. So cheap labor is what the party of slavery and the bullwhip, what Bill Clinton is advocating here. Isn't it amazing? And that, that's just fine. They're the party of slavery and cheap labor and open borders and all that stuff. But doesn't that conflict with their now decades-old argument that we need to stop reproducing at such a rapid rate because climate change and global warming and natural resources and the cost of real estate and housing and schools and healthcare and medicine. They tell us, oh, no, there are too many of us. So then we begin to have fewer and fewer babies. The population growth declines and declines. And they say, well, we're not reproducing quickly enough. You people have really serious brain problems. You honestly do. And that's not even the headline out of that Bill Clinton moment, because in that very same moment, while he was campaigning for Kamala Harris, and Tim Walz wearing a camouflage hat with Harris and Walz on the hat. But never mind that. Bill Clinton also said something else that got the attention of a lot of people, because you may remember the 22-year-old young woman, college student in Georgia, that was raped and murdered by an illegal alien from Venezuela, where the Democrats have made special provisions to take more illegal aliens from Venezuela, especially gang members, especially Trinidad, where they're recruiting kids that are 10 years old and 11 years old to do armed robberies for them in New York City, where there's so many in Chicago that the gangs in Chicago may be organizing to try to drive out the Venezuelan gangs. where the Venezuelan gangs, President Trump went there to Aurora, Colorado several days ago because they had taken over multiple apartment complexes, videos of them with rifles, military weapons, taking over apartment buildings and so on. But Laken Riley was a college student, 22 years old, I believe, a nursing student, raped and murdered by an illegal alien that the Democrats waved into the country. And Bill Clinton then, he accidentally, admitted that if these people at the border were being properly vetted, then we wouldn't have had Laken Riley raped and murdered. By the way, there was another mother of 5 in Maryland, not too terribly far from this radio station, my mothership radio station, named Rachel Morin. Rachel Morin, the mother of 5 children, was out for a hike about exercise when another illegal alien raped and murdered her, mother of 5. And it's not as though those are 2 isolated incidents, because we're seeing it all over the country. And all of this filth should be appropriately and rightly laid at the feet of the Democrat Party. The Democrat Party is more guilty than is Venezuela, than is Trinidad, because they're doing what they will do. Democrat leadership are supposed to secure our borders and maintain the sovereignty of the United States of America and our territory. Bill Clinton saying that Laken Riley would still be alive today were it not for Democrat Party policies and failing to vet the millions of illegals they've waved into the country.
You had a case in Georgia not very long ago, didn't you? They made an ad about a young woman who'd been killed by an immigrant.
They made an ad.
Yeah, well, if they'd all been properly vetted, that probably wouldn't have happened. But if they're all properly vetted, that doesn't happen.
Yeah, well, if they're all properly vetted, that doesn't happen. And Rachel Morin would still be mothering her 5 children and wouldn't have been raped and murdered. And Laken Riley, 22-year-old nursing student, wouldn't have been raped and murdered. And those 2 murders alone and the trauma caused to the survivors, the family members, and the children of Rachel Morin and the husband and the neighbors and everybody else. I mean, come on. But Bill Clinton just admitted, had they been properly vetted, which we know is not happening.
Yeah, well, if they'd all been properly vetted, that probably wouldn't have happened.
And somebody laughed in the background. Somebody at the Bill Clinton event. Yeah, then that wouldn't have happened. And one of the Democrats there laughed out loud. That's funny. Man, I'm telling you, just extraordinary. And the open borders, they just amazing. And they wave in people from Afghanistan. We have this guy, Afghan man, who was arrested for plotting an election day massacre in the United States. He had already secured his weapons and ammunition, recruited some underage person to assist. It was going to be a suicide attack. They were both going to die in the process of massacring people on election day in the United States. Your Democrat Party, aren't they amazing? Extraordinary. Yes, sir. All right, should we take a phone call? Let's take a phone call. Let's go to John calling from Washington, D.C. Oh, John, you're on the Chris Plant Show.
Hey, Chris, how are you? Long-time listener, third-time caller.
Third-time caller. I love it. Very good. Welcome.
Nice to be on. So you had mentioned earlier, about bringing in all of the cocktees, as I call them, citizens of other countries trespassing illegally, cocktee. And, it's not just about population. Really what it's about is bringing in 25 million people who know nothing about American history. So, they don't know about the Founding Fathers. They don't know about the Constitution. They don't know what Thanksgiving is, right? Anything. Changing the culture. And you can't take a 50-year-old guy, a cockatoo who ran across the border, and expect him to go back in time, right, and sit in third grade American, history class in elementary school. He's never going to know. And I understand the argument that matriculation into our country takes 2 generations. I get that. But if you're bringing in 25 million people who are illiterate, and I'm not, saying they're, whatever, but they don't read and write, and they have absolutely no interest in learning it, what are you going to do?
Well, and you're absolutely right. You're 100% right. You're erasing, as they're erasing women and erasing our history and attacking the founding of the country and our founding fathers individually and tearing down statues and taking down portraits as Nancy Pelosi presided over on Capitol Hill in the Capitol building and beyond. You're erasing the traditions that families have. I know a great many families that have men in their family tree that have fought in every war going back to the American Revolution. And they value and cherish, dare I say, the American values that are the envy of the world of liberty and the Bill of Rights and our freedoms. And if you know that, for example, my father fought in World War II as a Navy fighter pilot in the European and the Pacific theaters. My grandfather, my mother's father, fought in World War I in France as a doughboy, and we've got those are the only ones I knew going back in the family tree. Doubtless there are more, but not too many more because my family came over here fairly late. We didn't come over on the Mayflower, but my family has fled tyranny and fled inferior circumstances in other countries to come to the United States. And they came because they appreciated the freedoms of speech and free practice of religion and recognized that a disarmed populace is a populace of subjects. An armed man is a citizen, a disarmed man is a subject. And my forebears, my ancestors, recognized that, realized that, raised myself and my 5 brothers with that knowledge, with that information. And the Democrat Party, the left, they're really the left. They're not a pro-American Democrat Party. My mother was a lifelong Democrat, and there have been lots of Democrats in my family tree, but that was before the Democrat Party went crazy. And you're right, importing people that have none of the traditions, none of the customs, the family customs, the cultural customs, and we take in, and I think it's wonderful, it's great that we take in 1 million legal immigrants a year, and that is enough, but not so many that they'll never assimilate. And what we're watching now is what we're seeing in France with the no-go zones where Muslims from North Africa and the Middle East move into France. They occupy pockets of Paris and other cities, and they have no-go zones where they don't allow the police in, they don't allow the firefighters in, they don't allow the French culture in because they're not there to become French. First of all, you can't become French. You can only become American. You can't move to Italy and become Italian. You can become an Italian citizen, but you can't become an Italian. Only in the United States of America, it's the only country in the world where you can move with your family or without your family and become an American. I can't move to Japan and become Japanese, but if you're Japanese, you can move to the United States and become American. And 1 million a year is a lot of people, but it gives the people time, to assimilate and to become a part of the culture and part of our society, right, John? And the Democrats are looking to steamroll that whole process, throw it out, and transplant enough foreign people who have no interest in those traditions that America will never be, it would just be unrecognizable, right? Like Robert F. Kennedy Jr. talks about how his father and his uncle, John F. Kennedy, would find today's Democrat Party unrecognizable, and they're trying to make the United States unrecognizable. That's what they're doing, right, John?
Yeah, I agree with you. If you go back to the 50s and you look in Eisenhower's administration, a moderate Republican who, frankly, was trying, the Democrats tried to recruit him to run in their party, but he was a moderate Republican with a Democrat Congress that was moderate, and they passed 80% of his legislation. And, the 1950s were the glory years. We don't have that anymore. By the way, before I go, Bill Clinton saying that we need more people to come in. I wish he had said something funny like, and of course he wouldn't, but, we need more people to come in to build pyramids, or we need more people to come in to pick cotton. right? And really what he should have said in the modern term was, we need more people to come in to work in Chipotle. But he's not going to go to that extent. But, the slavery thing, absolutely. Like, what are you doing bringing in all these people other than to enslave them in effect? And it doesn't matter if it's a pyramid or it's picking cotton or it's picking vegetables or it's working at a Chipotle, it's it's the same thing.
It is.
Too bad the Republicans weren't in power 300-400 years ago, because they would have built a wall and they would have stopped, modern slavery from coming in, right? They would have stopped the slave trade with a wall. But of course, the Democrats would have stopped them.
They also, we had more than 1 million abortions in the United States last year, largely from financially disadvantaged families and an obscene percentage from African American families. And they think that that's not enough. We need more abortions. But then Bill Clinton says we're not having enough babies in the United States. Well, we could have 1 million more. I know a way that we could do that. The Democrats, it's a mental illness. It really is. John, thank you for the call. Good to hear your voice again, and thank you for caring and making sense. These are good things, caring and making sense, and being on our side. I was talking to a friend yesterday who's from Afghanistan, and we were talking about all these very same things about the United States being the envy of the world, and he recognizes it, and he's a cheerleader, and he got out of Afghanistan and got to the United States. He's still in the process of getting his family out of Afghanistan and Pakistan to the United States. But he recognizes the greatness of the United States. If you brought 15 million Afghans in all at once, that'd be a different thing altogether. Then you'd have no-go zones like in France, and assimilation would die. One of the big things that Kamala likes is transgender surgeries and medical treatments for convicted criminals in prisons. That's one of her things. And if you're a convicted illegal alien, you're an illegal alien, you come here, you commit a crime, you go to prison, and you think that you want to become a lady. I want to be a lady. Then Kamala is your champion. Because, she's a goof and a nut. And she's the Democrat Party's candidate running for president. Although the phony rumor flying around today is they want to swap her out with Hillary.
I made sure that they changed the policy in the state of California so that every transgender inmate in the prison system would have access to the medical care that they desired and need.
Ah, yes. Well, what's prison for, if not to change your gender at taxpayer expense? She's running for president. This includes illegal aliens, of course, and gang members from Venezuela and any other hellhole that just remarkable stuff we have going on all over the place. The Democrat Party and the news media, they're going crazy because they see the polls are not looking great for Kamala Harris, and it's the Democrats starting these rumors online. We've got to get rid of Kamala. She could lose to Trump and then Hitler, and we'll replace with Hillary. I think Hillary probably started these rumors because she never gives up. She's like Madame Mao. She's going to keep clawing her way to wherever she can get to the dinner table. Amazing stuff. But the media, they're all over. We had James Carville and CNN. He's Hitler. Because he talked about, and by the way, what President Trump was talking about when he's talking about National Guard and maybe even the military, it was in the context of Maria Bartiromo saying, well, Joe Biden says that there won't be a peaceful election day, right? And President Trump said, well, first of all, the riots and the attacks on the White House when he was in there for 3 days and the evacuation of him and his family to the underground bunker because of the violent mob of Democrats outside, and they set fire to the church of the presidents and attacked everything around the White House. But never mind that. And the attacks on people when Trump was inaugurated and burning the limousine and attacking people going to inaugural balls and attacking businesses and smashing out storefronts. All Democrats, 100% Democrats. And that's okay. And President Trump said, well, if there's not a peaceful election day, you might have to call out the National Guard. You know, they called out the military after the little scuffle on Capitol Hill that went on for 2 hours on January 6th, which they turned into Pearl Harbor, after they had trashed more cities than I could list here with the time that I have remaining. But never mind that. And now they're just going crazy. The Democrat Party and the media, but I repeat myself, are going completely crazy with the Hitler stuff and again, he's using a law that was used to intern the Japanese in World War II. Well, but keep in mind, it was the Democrats that actually did intern the Japanese in World War II. That should be noted, by the way. And our news media, from the Washington Post, across the spectrum, the Washington Post today, with their story popped about an hour ago, by Jennifer Rubin, who is a left-wing radical extremist and not a journalist at all. Why Trump is doubling down on racism. Oh, is he doubling down on racism? Is that what's going on? In the closing weeks of a tight campaign, the former president returns to his core message, which is a false, fabricated core message, Jennifer Rubin, that the Democrats fabricated. Former President Donald Trump has gone full racist. That's the first sentence, has gone full racist. And then in parentheses, or nativist, as some outlets delicately describe it. In Aurora, Colorado, the New York Times reports, he spewed, quote, repeated claims which have been debunked by local officials that Aurora has been, quote, invaded and conquered, right? Now, the New York Times described the United States as an occupied state. Now, again, they have 2 words in quotation marks here and 4 words in quotation marks there, because that's how you corruptly misrepresent whatever it is you're presenting to your dwindling readership. And so she's going off on this and revived a promise to use the Alien Enemies Act of 1798 to deport suspected members of drug cartels and criminal gangs without due process. Now, that's her quoting. It's plagiarism from the New York Times. Well, you know, the Democrats used it to throw all Japanese, including American citizens, again, into internment camps during World War II, because the Democrat Party is the history of racism, and America is the history of the Democrat Party. But never mind that. So here they go, and NBC fake news 7 hours ago. These are both today's stories. Trump's dark rhetoric about cities returns to the campaign trail. His dark rhetoric about cities. Now, he's talking about crime and illegal aliens flooding into New York and Chicago and to Aurora, Colorado, and Denver and Indianapolis and Miami, and the list goes on. Not as many cities as the Democrats burned and looted after St. George Floyd died of heart failure while resisting arrest again, with fentanyl and methamphetamine coursing through his bloodstream. The Democrats love that. The former president's recent trashing of Detroit continues a long-running theme, and where Democrats see a cruel attack, Republicans see a play for suburban and rural voters. You know, maybe if the news media just told the truth about what's going on in the country, we wouldn't have to wait for political figures to. Now, we've got a couple of audio sound bites on this because it is Kamala sat down with Roland Martin to do an interview because he's a black man and she's having trouble in the polls with black men voting for her. And so she's got to pretend to be blacker than she is. And listen to this rhetoric. Now, Roland Martin's question is nonsensical. It's almost unintelligible. He's talking about Donald Trump saying, we've got problems in a lot of our cities, and they're Democrat-run cities. But if you point out the crime epidemic in Democrat-run cities like Chicago with a Democrat mayor and a Democrat city council, the mayor happens to be black also, let's go Brandon Johnson, right? And the city is in a state of chaos and anarchy and crime and free fall, and corporations are fleeing the city and on and on. And here comes the question. And then, oh, yeah, but he talks about other cities too. And wink, wink, it can only be about race. Because when you have a black mayor of a largely black city, any criticism of that mayor is deemed by the party of slavery and Jim Crow to be racist, right? Roland Martin.
How does it make you feel when he trashes black cities? So in 2020, he talked about voting in Fulton County, Atlanta.
2020.
Philadelphia, Detroit.
Voting in Atlanta.
There was a partial recount of Wisconsin, only in Milwaukee.
Only
the
in
comments
Milwaukee.
that he just made about Detroit basically being a living hell.
Oakland, D.C., Chicago.
Pretty damn ad.
Come on.
Pretty good damn ad y'all dropped out. I actually liked it. Jamel Hill and I talked about it. But again, he's singling out cities where there are significant African Americans, and that's who he's talking about.
Yes.
Black people.
Yes.
That's who he's talking about. Now, he was, they're obsessed with Detroit. President Trump visited Detroit, and he compared the city, which is 77% black, to a developing nation, and posited that, quote, the whole country will end up being like Detroit, end quote, if Kamala Harris wins. Now, Detroit used to be the envy of the world as an industrial capital in the auto industry and so on. And you know, this company that owns Jeep and other autos, Solantra, whatever it's called, they're threatening to leave the state of Michigan. There's a Democrat governor there who's a white woman. So is he being unfairly critical of white women when he criticizes the Democrat mayor of Michigan? But this is what you get. They're playing the race card all over the place. And Roland Martin, now Kamala's going to go on with Charlemagne the Misspelled God, who has a big podcast for some inexplicable reason. And he can't spell the word the, which should be considered problematic if you're in the media business. But never mind any of that. And this is the media's on and that means Kamala and Roland Martin and Charlemagne the Misspelled God, who's not as dishonest as probably Roland Martin is. And he may be less dishonest than Kamala is, but he should learn how to spell the word the, because he's a major national media figure in the United States of America. But amazing stuff. And they're attacking Donald Trump for mentioning the number of Haitians that the Democrats dumped in Springfield, Ohio, by the tens of thousands. And that's not a problem. And if you say it's a problem, they call you a racist. The party of lynching black people calls you a racist. Just amazing stuff, I got to tell you. And that's our media, and it's our Democrat Party, because that's them. Now, part and parcel of all of this is our media, which I talk about a lot. And Mediaite has a new study from Gallup that they're highlighting here that shows, listen to this now, trust in media plummets to record low across the board, especially among young people. I keep seeing signs of hope in younger generation. And colon, they love their colons. Gallup. So the Gallup polling people has found that American trust in traditional media has hit record lows, according to a new poll from Gallup. And that includes Democrats and young people. The study published on Monday, Gallup presented a picture of the lowest trust ever recorded when it came to traditional media such as TV, newspapers, and radio. Gallup has conducted the same survey since 1972, and since 2016, that trust has continually waned. Just 31% of those surveyed said that they trusted the media to be accurate and fair a great deal or a fair amount of the time, while 36% had no trust at all, which is a slight improvement over last year's numbers. 33% said they had not very much confidence. When it came to how partisans viewed the media, Democrats still had more confidence in the media, that's because they're having sex with them, than Republicans, but even their trust level dropped. Currently, 54% of Democrats and 27% of independents, along with 12% of Republicans, say they have a great deal or a fair amount of trust in the media. Independents' trust matches the record low of 2022, while Democrats and Republicans are statistically similar to their historic low points. After dropping precipitously to the trend low of 51% in 2016, Democrats' trust in the media ranged from 68% to 76% between 2017 and 2022, but fell to 58% last year and has edged down ever since, now 51%. So record low trust in the news media. An analysis of age groups using aggregated data to increase sample size shows a 17 percentage point gap in trust between the oldest Americans, 65 and older, and those under the age of 50, 43% to 26%, respectively. But young Democrats' trust in the media far less. Young Democrats trust the media far less than older Democrats do. 31% of Democrats age 18 to 29 versus 74% of Democrats age 65 and older. They know that the media works for them, works for the Democrat Party, right? But it's good to see that younger Democrats have less and less trust in the media. That means they're getting smart, that they're paying attention. 18 to 29-year-old Democrats have 31% actually trust the media. So that's pretty good. That's pretty good stuff. And just as the media goes on this insane rant about Donald Trump, he said Detroit is a B-poll, and he didn't even say that. But go ask anybody that lives in Detroit, especially if they remember when it was the industrial capital of the planet, and we were making beautiful cars that the whole world envied and wanted to buy. Never mind all of that. Democrats, I'm telling you. And please stop shooting people, would you? For the love of crying out loud. Amazing stuff. You know, America's strength isn't just built, it's also worn. For those who put in the hours to get things done and get things done right, G-Defy shoes are made right, and they're made right for you. With patented VersaShock technology, G-Defy doesn't just talk comfort. They engineer comfort. Every step you take, G-Defy shoes help absorb harmful shock and provide trampoline-like energy return. My best girl and I, we've got G-Defy shoes, hike around the city. And, you know, your feet feel better after a hike than they did before the hike. Designed for hardworking people, for parents, for those who stand tall no matter what. Go to gdefy.com, GDEFY.com, and use the code Chris. You're going to get $20 off your order of $100. That's the code Chris for $20 off any order of $100 or more, because even champions need to rest. Go to gdefy.com today. Yeah. Yes, sir. Kamala Harris's plagiarism. They're all plagiarists. None of them have an original thought between them. Holy cow, look at the clock. How much time do I have? How much can I get to? Lord only knows. Now, President Trump, unlike Kamala Harris, President Trump does interviews and he does rallies and he meets with people and regular people and he's out on the campaign trail all the time. And Kamala's cackling in studios with people who ask dumb, uninformed questions and so on. Now, the news media is attacking President Trump today because he held a rally. Well, why are they attacking him today? He held a rally in Pennsylvania and a town hall, and it was interrupted because two different people in the large crowd collapsed and fainted, had medical emergencies in Oaks, O-A-K-S, Pennsylvania. And President Trump was, talking to the crowd and interacting and having fun and going from subject to subject, doing all these things that Kamala couldn't do and Joe Biden can't do and couldn't do. And when people collapsed in the crowd, stretchers were required and medical crews came in. So naturally, he stopped. He stopped the event, and he said he did something he likes to do, played Luciano Pavarotti singing the Ave Maria. And the media are apoplectic about this.
The number one issue is the economy. Number two is inflation. Let's even put them together. And number three is the border. I disagree. I think I agree. I do agree with you. The number one issue this country has.
Medic, calling for medic. President Trump sees there's a medical emergency. So he stops because of a sense of decency and humanity, which the left attempts to deprive him of, naturally. So Monday night, last night, interrupted twice, medical emergencies.
The president is wondering.
Now, the Ave Maria just starts playing. He's giving hand signals over here to the Greater Philadelphia Expo Center. And this is something that he's been doing a lot of, and it's the Luciano Pavarotti version of Ave Maria. And then he, when things clearly were not going to get back to normal, he said, tell you what, let's do this.
Let's listen to Pavarotti sing Ave Maria. Can you hear that? They gave me the Ave Maria with no voice. So put on Pavarotti singing Ave Maria.
Pavarotti's got a pretty good voice there, and if I had another 2 minutes, I'd play the rest of it. The news media attacking him. Turn it into a 40-minute music fest.